Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy. I'm joined by my co-host Tony Robinson, where we have a very special interview today with the Accrington Stanley head groundskeeper, Ben Kay. Now, Ben has quite a history in the sport of football. He had a playing career himself, and then as was described in an article off the pitch, once his playing days came to an end, he was able to stay on the pitch by getting into the groundskeeping end of things. He was with Chorley prior to coming over to Accrington in, I believe it was April of 2021, and has been manning the pitch at the Wham Stadium since then. Welcome to the show, Ben, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Phil. No, it's a pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I Ben, it's Tony, and we had a chat last week, Phil, Ben, and I, and I think a couple of beers kind of convinced him to come on the show. So no, we appreciate you doing this because, as we said, we've seemed to have covered every aspect of Stanley, and there's one area we haven't really spoke about, and that's probably with regards to the pitch, and probably one of the most important roles at the club, which is yourself. So, but before we get into that, Ben, Phil mentioned and touched on that you did have started in your football life with Wigan Athletic. Can you just give us a quick sort of a rundown on your time and how you were at Wigan?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I class myself as a bit of a failed footballer, if I'm honest with you. I started off when I think I was 11. It was the old style schoolboys back then. So you got invited down to a trial, and to be fair, I did quite well. So I stayed at Wigan from 11, then got offered it was called a YTS, then a youth training scheme, which is now the scholarship scheme, and spent 2 years doing that. From 16, 17, 18, then I was fortunate to get offered a 1-year pro contract. By then, it was, do you remember Bruce Rioch, who used to be the Arsenal manager?
Yes, you know him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit of an Arsenal fan myself. So.
All right. So when Bruce Rioch was manager, I was doing really well as a second-year YTS. I played a game in what will be the Papa John's now. Is it the Papa John's? Yeah.
Yeah.
It changes that many. It has that many different names and that. Yeah. So back in the day, it was called the LDB Vans Trophy, I think it was. So I played a game there against Walsall away. Did really well. I then got offered my pro contract. Bruce Rioch got sacked by Dave Whelan, and then it was a bit chaotic. Then I think in 3 years I had 6 football managers. I think we had John Benson, Steve Bruce, Colin Greenall, Paul Jewell, Bruce Rioch, obviously, to name a few, and that. And it was just a weird situation at the time, and that it was kind of like just a merry-go-round of a football manager. I think the chairman obviously wanted instant success, etc. So when I did my first year pro, I found it really hard, mentally and physically, if I'm honest with you. I mean, believe it or not, Jed Brannan was one of the senior pros when I was there. So I've known Jed for a good few years and that. And it was kind of like, it's not how it is now where you have a stepping stone from the 18 to the 23 to the first team. It was kind of, listen, you've got 1 year to get in the first team. And if you're not good enough, that's it. So I kind of dwindled out of favour under Paul Jewell, who come in that season, and just left at the end of the season. And I remember not having a job after I finished my pro contract. Went on trial to a few places. Didn't really get anywhere with that, and ended up having to go to the door. And it was probably one of the lowest points in my life, like having to go to the door, going to sign on, and them asking you, what was your previous job? And I'm like, a professional football. And I'm like, really? And it was just a bit of a strange situation. But to be fair, I did really well at non-league. I played Conference North level for Marine, Lee RMI, and then just stayed pretty local for Warrington, St Helens Town, Robin Park. And then I became manager of Ashton Athletic with two of my good friends, and I spent probably from mid-20s to early 30s just managing and playing there.
The time when you mentioned going into the Dole and on the Dole, it's a lot of people don't realise that there's that aspect of football, because they think a person gets a football contract and then that's it. But there is a lot of people that for a pro contract, then they've got no the future in football as a player. It could be over.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I fell into the trap of thinking at 15, 16, my final years of high school, that this is it now, I'm going to be playing football the rest of my life. Because I'm not just saying it, but I was highly thought of at Wigan. I was kind of one of the better players, etc. They offered me my scholarship early on, and that. So you think, right, that's it now. I'm going to do really well. And then it just hits you, like you don't really study for your GCSEs, you really have no backup plan, etc. And it was kind of, when I left Wigan, I needed a job. So the first thing I kind of thought was, right, my uncle works for the local council doing grounds maintenance, which mainly was just going around, cutting the grass verges on the tractors, cutting fields, etc. And he got me on there as a temporary member of staff or a seasonal member of staff. So for my first 6 months of my working career, I was just kind of like just a seasonal staff without a permanent job. So I would do the summer months, and in wintertime they would lay you off. So then I would have 6 months at home and then back again. And that kind of happened for a year or two. And then they took me on full time. And that's kind of where my groundsmanship kind of career started.
At that point, like you were saying there, it sounds like that was when your grounds keeping kind of foundation was set. As you mentioned, you were cutting the grass and things there. At that point in time, was becoming a groundskeeper something that was in your mind, or you were just kind of looking for any way that you could stay in the game at that point?
No, it never crossed my mind really to go and work in football. I mean, if you speak to me, if you see me on Twitter, I'm a massive football fan, always have been. My wife goes mad because football kind of dictates everything that we do in this house. My son plays twice a week. At the weekend, he's training 2-3 times a week. So, to be honest, I think I've made my wife actually hate football. But starting off in the career that I've chosen now, no, it was never. It was just I needed a job. To be honest with you, I'd just finished football. I needed money, and my uncle got me on working with him as a seasonal member of staff. And then, kind of, I spent this was for the local authority at Wigan Council, so I probably spent about 14 years working there and learning the trade really without kind of knowing it. So I kind of I'd always classed myself as kind of an open person. I'd say a pretty confident person, a bit of a leader. Like when I was playing football, I was generally the captain of football teams. I went into management, so I knew I had something about me, kind of leadership skills. So when I was 23, I was made kind of like a supervisor, if that makes sense, like a leading hand. So at 23, I had men working under me then, and I was dictating what they should be doing, the rotas in the work. And kind of that's where I went with that. And then I spent 14 years doing that. And it just come to one day, I just remember having a chat with my mate and just thought, do you know what, I've had enough of this. Like, well, you remember probably 5-10 years ago, the budget started getting cut from local authorities.
Right.
The government were taking money from everything. So it was kind of what we were doing. Like we was looking after football pitches. And then the maintenance kind of took a back hit because the money wasn't there to maintain them to the standard that we wanted to. I think because I was such a lover of football and I knew what a footballer wanted when they turned up to a grassroots pitch. They wanted it nice and short, freshly lined out. They wanted grass in the goalpost, the post standing up straight and not bent, etc. And it was kind of like, as you see now, like you'll go across a grassroots football pitch and they've not had any money spent for them for years and years because the money's not there. So I just made the decision that I needed to get out, and I applied for a head groundsman's job up at a school in Preston. I was fortunate to get it. And that's kind of where my kind of love of football kicked on then, to get into groundsmanship in the football kind of area. One of my good friends was the manager of Chorley at the time. No, it's all right, he was the assistant manager. Matt Jansen was the manager who used to play for Blackburn, and they needed a groundsman up at Chorley on a part-time basis. So I was doing my work at the school, where I was the only groundsman looking after a full, I think there was 4 football pitches, AstroTurf, artificial wickets, etc., tennis courts, all the lawns, etc. And I was doing Chorley on the side, and then Chorley offered me a full-time job. So I went there, obviously had the success in the FA Cup, had a bit of the highlight of the tents, etc., as everybody knows me for. And then Accrington, I spoke to Dave Burgess and that, and they was kind of like expanding the workforce, would you say? Because Accrington's never had a training ground. So initially, when I spoke to Dave Burgess and Andy Holt, all the infrastructure plans were there to, right, we're going to get a training ground, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We need more staff, obviously, to help maintain it. And that's kind of where the conversation went and that. And then, obviously, 18 months on, I'm still at Accrington.
You touched on one thing, and I just wanted to go back, Ben, because it intrigued me. One part that we sort of skimmed over that I wanted to ask you about was when you were at Clitheroe. You were assistant manager, I believe, to Simon Howarth. And that part of it is the coaching part. So you played and you were doing groundskeeping. Did you not? Did the coaching not sort of appeal to you, or were you more inclined to enjoy the groundskeeping part of it?
No, did you know what it was? It was kind of like I said to you prior a few minutes ago. Now I was a manager of Ashton Athletic. Now, if people don't know who Ashton Athletic are, is they're in the North West Counties Premier. And I was manager there for joint manager for 4 or 5 years. And you probably don't know this, but we actually won the Lancashire Cup, which is a big thing. Like we played, we played Radcliffe Borough in the final at the Macron Stadium at the Bolton, and we beat Chorley in the semi-final, believe it or not. And it was kind of like my Saturdays were. It's going to sound really daft, but because I was managed, we had a very small budget. I mean, when I started, we had a £250 budget for the players. Now, that's, as you can imagine, that's pittance to what footballers get now. So what we did was every player got £15. We cut it out, so it was exactly the same for everybody. But we then because we don't have coaches or etc. to take us to games. Me, myself, and my friend. My friend and another friend would drive to the away games. So it was costing me money, etc. So then I've known Simon again from Wigan. And again, he's seen on Twitter that we've done me, and he asked me to go over to Clitheroe and be his assistant manager. Now, I only spent, I think it was 6 months there, because then I spoke to Jamie Vermiglio, who was assistant manager at Cho, and he and we kind of come to agreement that I would go over there to do the ground and look after the pitch, which would mean that then my Saturdays would be at Chorley and not be able to keep coaching. So that's kind of the switch over from where I went from management into like kind of full-time groundsmanship.
So now one thing that would maybe kind of appeal to me personally about groundsmanship is obviously with coaching, you're in charge of other players, you're kind of responsible for what their results are, where with groundskeeping, you're responsible for the pitch. It's kind of your project that you own. You're out there probably on your own, don't necessarily have a lot of other people that you're having to boss around or anything like that. I imagine that makes it kind of a nice job in that sense.
It does. I mean, it's like today. I mean, I've been over at the hub all day, and I don't know whether you know, but really, there's only me who's full time at the minute. We have Sam who comes in. He's doing a university course, which kind of dictates that he can only do 2.5 days a week, etc. He does so many hours per week with me. But it's like today. I mean, I've had my earphones on for 6 hours. I've just been hoovering the pitch after the game yesterday, and it's kind of one of those. Like it goes from one extreme to the other. Like you just pointed out, one extreme is in. Listen, lads, we're not doing very well at half-time team talk. You're throwing things at plays, you're screaming and you're bawling. And then your normal work life is you're just chilling out and just relaxing, following a mower. It's going to sound really, really kind of cliche, but what other job can you just relax and just follow a mower and cut grass all day long? Do you know what I mean? No hassle in the world. It's one of the best. Listen, it's one of the best jobs in the world when the weather's in your favour.
Well, and we'll touch on this afterwards, after the next segment, but about what your day at Stanley. Yeah. But you don't find any stress from the clubs to have the pitch so. Is it? It's something that's kind of a pressure. It doesn't bother you, or you don't feel it as pressure.
No, honestly, Tony. Listen, mate, I'll be lying if I didn't. I'll be totally honest. I don't get nothing, no hassle from Dave Burgess, no hassle from Malta. They're always happy to back us. They believe in the processes that we're trying to achieve. I mean, we'll probably go into more detail and I'll explain kind of how the pitch is built up, etc. later on and that. But the investment's been there. I mean, I can't thank them both enough. And people will be going, "Oh, you've got to say that because they're your boss, etc." But the way they've supported us in the infrastructure that now is in place is kind of unbelievable compared to where it was 5-10 years ago. And that's not knocking anybody at all before that, because I know we're in a different total situation than now. We have kind of an owner who can put money into the football club.
I think it was about 3 years ago that Holte put in the new pitch, the new hybrid pitch, and that was a game changer, because I mean, certainly back in 2018, I remember during the winter after a heavy rain that the center of the pitch would just kind of turn into a mud pit. Well, luckily we don't have to deal with that, and the drainage
it would flood in front of the old changing rooms too, as well. Yeah,
I mean, listen, the best groundsman in the world wouldn't have been able to manage that pitch prior to the investment.
It didn't have the drainage.
No, and I take my hat off to the people who's worked on it before me, because I don't think I could have stuck it out for so long, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it was not an enviable task, to be sure.
No.
Well, before we get into the details of caring for the pitch on a day-to-day basis, which is something I'm really looking forward to, we have one of our most popular segments of the show, and this was Tony's invention. It started off as just some fun North England versus South England questions, and Tony, I'm just going to turn it over to you for the world-famous rapid fire.
Thank you as always, Phil. I write my own intro. He just reads the words I send to Phil. So thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
It's just some fun questions, because just to sort of break up the interview a bit and have some fun. We'll start off with the standard one is brown or red sauce on your bacon sandwich.
Red.
Black pudding with your full English, yes or no?
Definitely not.
Oh no, Phil, that's one of the no. Anyway, there's no wrong answer, but
I've never had it, but it's not on my list of things that I'm really chomping at the bit to try.
I think I know the answer to this question, but the next one I was going to ask: would you prefer a lager or a real ale?
Oh, lager.
What's your biggest day in football?
What's my biggest day?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Obviously making my debut, but also getting the chance to work at Wembley.
Oh, excellent. Gravy or curry on your chips?
Curry.
Do you have a favourite musician?
Probably the Killers.
Oh, yeah. Phil knows it.
That's actually my pick too. So very 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 good answer in my opinion. What's your favorite song by them?
My favorite song would be All the Small. No, what's it called? Oh, probably Mr. Brightside, if I'm honest. But yeah, he's probably the most famous one, isn't it? But I do like All These Things That You've Done as well. I think it's called.
Yeah, all these things that I've done. The one like I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
Yeah, that's the one. I lost the name of it then for a minute, but yeah, probably that one.
That's a great one. And then Mr. Brightside. That's the probably the most famous one. I really like the Samstown album, which is the second album that they did. That was really just from start to finish is a good album.
Yeah, they're a good band.
Do you have a favorite film or a TV program?
Do you know what? It's going to sound really weird, this, but I do. I like war films. You know what I mean? I like people getting shot and stuff like that. So I love Saving Private Ryan. I mean, listen.
So you know, like
5 minutes in Saving Private Ryan, I don't think you can get a better start to a film ever.
Have you seen that film 1917?
Yeah, I've seen that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that one.
That is it. The Hacksaw Ridge, is it?
Yeah, it seems it's sort of a camera. One camera kind of follows the player, the soldier all the time. It's quite interesting, that one. We talked about
Tony. Real quick, don't mean to interrupt, but I'm just gonna throw out a guess here based on if you like war movies, maybe you like war video games also.
Call
of Duty or Halo is going to be what I'll throw out.
I'm not very good at it. I think because I'm getting a bit older now, I don't have the reactions I like some 15, 16-year-olds have, so I always end up getting shot and dying.
I how that feels.
I mean, you talked about, having the best job and sort of not having the pressure. Is there something you like to do to unwind after work that's I don't get a chance. I mean, I got home from work at I got home from work at 4:30, and I've just had to take my daughter to ballet, and then I've literally got in, had a shower, and I'm straight on the phone to you, and that's pretty much kind of my life. And it's not making excuses or trying to feel sorry, because 90% of people actually do this. But you kind of, once you have kids, you kind of, your life revolves around that, really. Right.
But no, listen. Yeah, usual things, just like golf when I get a chance, and sport, anything sporty really. But I never get time to do anything at the minute.
Yeah. What's your who has a funny sense of humor at Stanley that you deal with? Who's the funniest person?
Flipping out. Do you know what? It's really hard, that one, because although you probably think I'm around the players all the time, I very rarely actually see them. I mean, they'll be coming into training, I'll be on the pitch cut, and they just like, everybody's brilliant. They always say hello, always stop for a chat, etc. But it's an hard one, because I don't know. And then you look at the kind of the members of the staff who's in the background, like your John Austies, your Sophies, your Lynns, your Dave Burgesses, and that. And it's kind of like you don't really get to see that many people. So Dave Burgess always cracks a joke, and that. I mean, his banter's terrible most of the times, and that, but you just got to laugh along with him.
I know exactly what you're saying. Last one, just to wrap up. We're going to test your North American sports knowledge. I'm going to ask you which one is the baseball team out of these three teams. LA Lakers, LA Kings, LA Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Well done. No hesitation on that, Phil, was there? No hesitation.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Ben.
Pretty good with sport. Yeah, no problem, Tony.
You give him like Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, you're probably going into the lower leagues there, aren't you?
Oh, he's trying to throw a ice hockey team at you, and then I don't think that's fair, Phil. Anyway. What's
minor league baseball? You go like Toledo Mud Hens or something.
Yeah,
that's always been my favorite name there, the Mud Hens.
We'll just go back now to or on the interview part of it, and sort of dwell on Stanley. I mean, we've got that journey where you get there now. One of the things that, and Phil and I both had this down as something of interest is, can you describe what your day is like on match day? Because we as you go to the matches, you see him training and practicing, and then Worcester comes on. What's your day like, and when does it start, and what's your duties for the day at match day?
Yeah, well, flipping heck, it's absolutely chaotic match day. So prior to match day, we start building up for match prep probably 2 days prior to that. So we'll put kind of our match spray on to try and green it up and get some kind of products into the pitch that is going to help it recover. So Thursday we will double cut the pitch. When I said double cut the pitch, we'll cut it on the width and we'll cut it on the length. Friday we will cut it again, double cut, so it'll be on the length and on the width. We'll then test moisture levels to see where we're at with the water. I mean, a lot of people won't know, but we do actually have a sand-based pitch, so there's no soil in there. It's just pure sand, etc. So then Saturday comes around and we're probably in at 7:30, I would say. Usually have a really heavy dew over in Accrington because there's a lot of cloud cover. So what the first thing we'd do was we'd sweep all the dew off with some dew brushes, and then we'd get on to double cutting the pitch. So we'd cut it on the length, on the width, stringing it out so the bay lines are really nice and straight and tight. And then we would start marking. Now, you probably think that we don't use string lines to mark the pitch out because there's always a wonky white line even there, but we string the pitch out fully, so every line that you see that's been marked out by the marker is strung out. We then put the nets up. As the nets are going up, we're testing moisture levels again to see where we're at, because again, with it being a sand-based pitch, the more water we put on, the firmer that pitch goes. See, I always use this kind of this theory that if you're going to Crosby Beach at Liverpool and you're stood half a mile away from the sea, you walk onto the sand and the sand is very soft. You stand on it and it moves, and that's because it's nice and dry. The closer you get to the sea, it firms up because the moisture's there, etc. And you've just got to think of it like that. So we're testing moisture levels, we're putting corner flags in, and then probably we're finishing probably about 12:30. And then it's just a matter of just waiting for the players to turn up, for the referee will do his checks for the goals. We then meeting and greeting away staff to say, listen, obviously, hello, my name's Ben, this is what we expect from you. Can you do your warm-up here? Can you do the warm-up there? And it's kind of just then directing people into where you want them to go to make it just really so they don't make a mess of the pitch. Do you know what I mean? If it's a free-for-all, you've got like goalkeepers in the main goals, they're taking free kicks, and they're just messing about and that. So probably from 12 o'clock, it's just managing people coming into the stadium and onto the pitch.
But Phil, we both, this is another one we talked about too, is the watering the pitch before and at half time. And is that because of the moisture levels again, Ben?
Well, no, we try and build the moisture levels up prior to the game day. When we throw it on around 12 at dinner time, it's just to get some extra water in there. But probably you'll see just before they come up, we just wet the surface. Prior to them kicking off, 2:45, we put the water back on. And then if it's dry again at half time, we put the water on, because the plant dries out so quick, you just want a bit of moisture on there. So it's the old saying, they want some zip on the ball, the boys, yeah. So the gaffer's always big on, he wants the pitch cut at a certain height for him. No, I keep winding him up saying, listen, gaffer, like, you keep wanting this pitch like Brazil, but we end up just whacking it everywhere. So he wants it always dead short and like 23 mil and nice and weight. So when the boys pass the ball, it gets there nice and quick.
So, yeah, I had read that the watering of the grass at halftime, and he basically just confirmed that it really has a lot to do with the way that the ball slides across the grass, that the ball slides truer with the grass has a little bit of moisture to it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the gaffer wants to play free-flowing football and that, and it's only going to benefit us if the pitch is wet. If a pitch is full of grass, I mean, it's going to sound daft, but you can have actually too much grass. We thin the grass out, so that it does have a nice true roll on it, and the ball does get there nice and quick. And the gaffer wants to try and play attractive football, so he wants a pitch in the best possible condition and wet on the top.
And is this top secret information, or what height does the grass get cut to?
No, it's not top secret at all. I mean, at the minute, the gaffer wants it at 23 mil. Probably coming into November, we'll raise it to 25 mil, which is 2.5 centimeters tall. But some football clubs cut at 18 mil. So it's always the preference of the manager. I mean, I've asked the gaffer, do you want to change anything with the pitch? I mean, say you get a Man City at home, you would be watering it, you wouldn't be cutting it really short. But the gaffer's adamant that he's not bothered about anybody else. He just wants a pitch suitable for Accrington Stanley.
So he doesn't adjust it based on the opponent. He has a set way that he wants it every week.
Yeah, he's never said to me, don't put the water on because this is a good... Say we play the MK Dons or we play Ipswich, who like to get the ball down and play football. He wants a pitch set up for Accrington, nobody else. He's not bothered about how anybody else plays because he knows that on the day, if we play well, we'll beat anybody at home.
I like that philosophy. One other thing I wanted to ask you about real quick is, so the new pitch that was put in a few years ago is a hybrid system of natural grass and artificial turf, which is something that we hear about a lot. It's something that's been the standard in the Premier League for quite some time. But, kind of explain to us the mechanics of what that actually means.
Yeah, So just a bit of background on that. I mean, you probably heard all the thing on social media about that we was going to get King George's as our training ground. So that kind of fell through. So I think there was kind of money set aside for that. And you'll also know that years gone by, the first team would always train on the pitch, etc. So kind of, when would it have been? Probably August last year. We knew that King George's weren't going to possibly happen. And I had a conversation with Walter and just said, like, we can do this, we can, instead of spending all this money on this training ground that's possibly going to fail anyway because the soil structure wasn't correct anyway. So we said, what about doing this on the first team pitch and that, which would then allow us to train more and more on the pitch? Because what it does is, like I say, if you think about sand, once it dries out and you lose all your grass coverage, so the roots are holding it together through the summer. Now you're trying to keep as much grass coverage on there through the winter time to hold it and bind it together. Now, once you lose that grass coverage, unless you can water it and keep it so wet, it starts to crumble and break up. So the hybrid system kind of counteracts that. So I can't even tell you how many thousands and thousands of stitches there are because I've no idea, but the pitch is 95% grass and 5% artificial fibre. Now, these fibres are spaced at 2 centimetres apart. They go 18 centimetres underground, and then there's a tuft showing at 2 centimetres, so 20 mil. So we can't cut the pitch any shorter than 20 mil, or we start cutting into the fibre. Now, the fibre reinforces the sand so you don't get the breakaway of the goal mouse when the keeper's worn all the grass away, the stable, which is brilliant, but it also has a negative effect on that the pitch is like concrete. So many people, if you're there, Tony, on Saturday, come and find me, mate. I'll let you have a walk on the pitch, etc., and you can actually see for yourself how actually hard it is. So we kind of had a hybrid pitch without anything to maintain it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So the kind of decision we made, right, we're going to get this hybrid pitch, but you also need things to spike it, things to rake it, to brush it, and we didn't have a tractor. So again, the club's been brilliant. We've ordered a Proco, which puts tines into the ground and frees it up and breaks compaction up. We've just got a tractor and a verti-drain, which again does the same thing. We've got a rake, we've got a brush. So now we're kind of equipped to maintain it properly. But last year was kind of a bit of I'm not sounding ungrateful because we have a hybrid pitch. We have the same pitch as Leicester City have, as Paris Saint-Germain have, because they're the systems that Hewitts have put in is exactly the same as what we've got. So it was kind of like we've just been building our machinery kind of pool up each year and getting a little bit more than that. And we're kind of where we need to be now. But yeah, the stitching, you can't really see it at the minute because the grass is taller than the stitching. But yeah, we're hoping that, well, kind of the theory also around the stitching is that the root of the grass binds around the stitching and reinforces it also. So it kind of has another effect on it, that the grass is gripping on, the root is gripping onto something. So as you're pulling the grass, it doesn't move. Now, naturally, when the weather turns bad, we will lose grass coverage, which we did last year. But we're hoping now we've got the machines and the and kind of the infrastructure to maintain it better, that we'll have a lot more grass coverage on it this year.
The two questions that I wanted just to sort of touch on is, and when I was there on Sunday, I just stopped into college for a few minutes, and I noticed in one of the goal areas you had a like a lamp on a stand. What is that, and what does it do?
So obviously grass needs natural sunlight to kind of gain energy. So it's kind of just pretending there's sunlight there. So what it'll do, it'll dry the plant out. It'll give it the energy to want to stand up. So like we said before, that water in the pitch, like believe it or not, grass doesn't like water. Water can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Too much water in, you'll get shallow roots and the grass will start falling out. So we're trying then to dry it out. And with it being the goal mouth where the keeper stood constantly, that's kind of the main area that goes first for the grass coverage. So the keeper's kicking it out, it's getting scuffs in it. So believe it or not, we're constantly putting grass seed in there, and the lights are trying to help us to maintain that grass and just kind of keeping a cycle of new grass coming through.
And this is one thing that I've noticed is after the match. Once the players do their warm downs and they do the runs and everything, their sprints, then you're out cutting the grass. And I've always wondered, just why do you cut it like so quickly after a match? What's the reasoning behind that, Ben?
Well, it's not actually cutting, Tony. We class it as hoovering. So it's kind of like, you think of it. I don't know, say you're sat at home and you've got 10 grandkids and they've all been playing out on the field and that, and they're bringing all the mud into the into your carpet, into your living room. All that mud's dropping off, and it's just then going to sit in the pile of the carpet before you get a mass. If you do it week in, week out, and you're not cleaning it off, you're then going to get a build-up of kind of, just soil really, and that's kind of what we're doing.
It's almost like vacuuming it.
Yeah, so as the lads are playing, they're kicking off dead leaves, they're kicking off bits of mud, and all we're doing is backing that up so we have a nice clean surface so that we don't have an organic layer built up, that when it does rain, it's hitting the surface nice and quick and draining away. What you get is, if you're not cleaning off and you're not divoting, you get a squidge on the top that then kind of, as years have gone by, will just allow water to sit on top, and then you're getting games called off.
So you're getting you're cleaning, not cutting.
No,
what I was going to say is, what this really sounds like to me that Tony, you'd be very familiar with, is how they bring out the Zamboni machine to resurface the ice at a hockey game.
Yeah, I suppose it's a similar idea. You want to, because the ice, you get buildup of snow from the skates, and then you want to clean the ice off. So it's interesting, because that's set me straight. So I know that I'm doing.
Well, the thing is, Tony, we don't actually cut grass with rotary mowers. We cut them with cylinder mowers. So the vacuum, what it is, we'll put we have brushes at the front of the machine. So we put the brushes down, which then flicks the grass up. So it's standing it all back up nice and tall. What it's doing is flicking any bits of grass, any bits of debris that's come off the player's boots or what have you, back up. And then the vacuum of the mower, so the blades going round the vacuum, what that causes is all it's doing is sucking any bits of dead leaf into the box. So we pretty much have a nice clean surface straight after the game. So if I left that till Monday, you could have rain, you could have snow, and it's just then sitting into the profile and just accumulating. And before you know it, you're losing all your grass because it can't breathe.
So it's part of the maintenance program, really, then?
Yeah, it's part of the maintenance program. And again, like, I've been fortunate enough that I've had the staff to do that. I'll be honest with you, if I was on my own, I won't be doing it. It's 5-6 hours on your own. But luckily, if we get 3 people doing it, we're done in 2 hours. So it saves us coming in on a Sunday having to do it. So we pretty much get on straight after the game.
It's just amazing how much goes into to that 90 minutes every Saturday behind the scenes, and certainly it sounds like that's the pretty high tech stuff that you're working with there. But one thing I wanted to ask about is, what would you say is the biggest technological advance in pitch maintenance over the last 10 or 20 years?
Oh, it would definitely have to be the hybrid stitching in the pitches. Because the benefits from having it done, and I mean, it's a costly price. It was a lot of money to have done, and that it opens up a new level for the football club. Because if the gaffer rings me up on a Friday and says, "Listen, Ben, the training ground's underwater. I need to train on the pitch," it's no hassle to us because we know that pitch can withstand that game. I mean, you won't see, but obviously, I support Wigan and that. Wigan have under 21s playing pretty much every Wednesday on the DW because they have a hybrid pitch and it can withstand it now because the reinforcement of the fibre gives you so much benefits of helping the grass, keeping it together, that them days have gone now where if it rains in November, you can't use it. You can pretty much use our pitch all year round.
Well, I tell you, the one thing when I came back this year and been since 2019 was last time I was over, but coming back this time and seeing that pitch for the first time, I was just amazed, and I think that's a lot of the credit not only in the technology but to you and your crew, because the work you do. Yeah. When it comes across on iFollow and on the telly, that pitch to me, when you look at it, it's Premier League standard, and I mean this is the such that we talk about Andy Alters. This is sort of the advancements in the infrastructure that's happened. That stadium now, although it's small in stature, is a top quality League One a stadium, and the pitch goes to it. So I think that's, all the credit to you. I think you're one of the unsung heroes in the sense that you make you're the artist or the conductor, and you don't seem to get because the players are on there playing. Everybody watches that, and you have to prepare the stage for them.
Yeah, no, listen, I get what you're saying, etc. And again, I'm going to say it's all cliche, but we're just doing our job. I mean, I get enough praise off Alty, off the gaffer, off the coaching staff, off the players when he's playing really well. They know how much it means to us to have a really good pitch, and we put the effort in there. And I think that's kind of all the management above me kind of just wants us to do, to put the effort in and do our best. And at the minute, he's playing really well. We've had 13 games on it, and we're just only into October. And up until probably last week, we had a bit of a mini renovation on it, so we've sanded it, put new seeding. Up until last week, it was still at 100% grass coverage. So he's doing his job, and we're all working hard because, like John Osty says, everything we do is for the first team, to give them the best possible chance on a Saturday to get us 3 points. Everything that everybody does at that football club is just directly for the first team to keep us in the league, to get us promotion. Do you know what I mean? So as long as everybody's doing their job and that, everybody's happy.
Everybody rowing together. I want to thank you, Ben, for first of all coming on, and secondly for educating me and Phil and our audience that's listening, because there's you filled in a lot of gaps, and I think people can make an assumption on what a groundskeeper does or doesn't do. and you've sort of helped clarify the lot, and you've got to be part scientist, chemist, So I think hats off to you, and on behalf of Phil, and we just appreciate you coming on and doing this. It's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's gone really quick, but. Thanks for doing this, Ben. Appreciate it.
No, I've enjoyed it myself. And like I said, listen, if we can educate and people can have a bit better understanding and that, then it's only going to benefit everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I learned a tremendous amount today, and I just want to thank you for everything that you do to make sure that the pitch is in top standard for the club every week. And watching 5,000 miles away on iFollow and seeing how good the pitch looks every week, it's just an amazing job that you and your staff do. Definitely want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us today, and we'd love to have you back in the future.
Yeah, anytime, mate. Then thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Echo that thoughts. Well done, Phil, and thanks again, Ben. So, Phil,
we like to finish up with an on Stanley on. So we'll count to 3 here. 1, 2, 3. On Stanley on.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate the time. Cheers, mate.
No, listen, I really enjoyed it. And if you ever need me again, just give me a shout. I'm more than happy to come on again.
I'll see you Saturday.
We'll look forward to that.
Thank you.